Hi there, YouTubers. This is a little beat up medal that I purchased on eBay recently. You can see it's seen better days, but it is almost 280 years old. So find out why I call this medal the fake news of 1741 right after this. So do you remember in history class when they talked about Admiral Vernon and his great victory in the port of Cartagena? Well, neither do I. And it's not just because we skipped over a lot of stuff in history class. It's because it never happened. But yet, this token would seem to celebrate the fact that it did. Don Blas surrendering on his knees, presenting his sword to Admiral Vernon. So let me first read the inscriptions to you. So it says, "The Spanish pride pulled down by Admiral Vernon." And then on the reverse it says, "Who took Portobello with 6 ships only." And November 12th, maybe 19th, 1739. Shows his 6 ships, and this is the port of Portobello, which I believe is in present-day Panama. So this did happen in 1739, but this surrendering of Don Blas to Admiral Vernon, that did not happen. So let's first go over Admiral Vernon. So in 1739, he was tasked with that attack on Portobello. It went well. He only needed 6 ships. And he was stationed in Jamaica, I believe. And it was kind of his deal to win victories over the Spanish for some New World possessions. So the second place he put his eyes on was Cartagena, which is in Colombia. So when he attacked, things were going pretty well, and he sent word. He said, "Hey, we're doing pretty good." And of course, it takes a long time for news to travel, so that's why this medal exists. A lot of people just anticipated his victory, and there are quite a few of these Admiral Vernon medals, actually. They date from Portobello in 1739, and several that show some of his other campaigns. This one doesn't include the word Cartagena on it anywhere, but that doesn't really matter. It shows Don Blas, and that's where he was. So these medals are kind of popular in the United States with collectors today, and even back then in the colonies, because this was one of the first campaigns where colonial troops were involved, with the British. And I think he took 1,000 colonial troops with him, but very few came back. I mean, they died of, yellow fever, typhus, scurvy, dysentery, malaria, everything that you could think of, and they never even got off the ship. One of the people that was on the trip was Lawrence Washington, who was the brother of George Washington, and he would later rename his estate to Mount Vernon after his commander, Admiral Vernon. So there are some ties to the United States here with Admiral Vernon. So Don Blas, whose name was Don Blas de Lezo, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that completely wrong, but he was kind of he was a badass, let's just say that. This scene could have never happened, mainly because he was missing one of his legs and he was missing one of his arms. So he couldn't kneel and present his sword with both hands like this. But he wouldn't have done it anyways. He protected his port. He sunk several of his own ships to make sure that they couldn't get in. So they had to land on the outskirts, and the Spanish repelled the British advances on land and at sea, and eventually the British just had to give up because of all of the diseases. I mean, they tried to siege for like months, but they just lost so many people to disease that it wasn't worth it. And Admiral Vernon tucked and ran back to Jamaica without capturing Cartagena. So Don Blas, he's kind of, like I said, he's one of the badass men of history. He really gave life and limb to his country, and I think that he later died of one of those tropical diseases too. He probably should have died in battle at some point, but disease got him instead. And that's about everything about this medal. It's, you know, like I said, 280 years old. It's seen better days. You'll see quite a few of these where these were made for the collector market in Britain and in the colonies. Like I said, there are tons of Admiral Vernon medals in all shapes and sizes. And I hope that you've enjoyed this video. And if you did, please hit the like button and subscribe.